Welcome to this free immigration help channel. In this video I will show you how to fill out the form I-751, petition to remove conditions on residence. Now I've got quite a few comments from you guys, and I really do appreciate the requests to make a video, instructional video on how to fill out this form, so I decided to finally make it. Now today is September 21st, 2023. As of today, the form itself is from December 2nd, 2019. So if you if you're filling it out 6 months or a year from from now on, definitely make sure, even if you're filling it out tomorrow from now, make sure to check the edition date to make sure that it is updated. The form itself is pretty straightforward. It is pretty simple. In this video I will show you the form itself, the application. We will talk a little bit about the instructions. We will talk about where to file, when to file, the filing fee, so far so forth. So for the most part, you will need everything in order to complete this form. But if you do struggle with, in general, using USCIS website and, using the computer to fill out the form, and you are, having problems with, understanding some of the fields, in this video, I assume that you do have the basic understanding of all of this, and this is not your first immigration form. If it is, you might want to look for some kind of legal services that do help complete the form. So let's start from the very beginning. I'll show you how to find this form. It is pretty straightforward. This is the front page of uscis.gov, official government website for U.S. citizenship and immigration services. The link will be available in the description of this video. Now from this front page, we're going to click on Forms right here at the very top of the navigation menu, Forms, and then we're going to click on All Forms right here, very first option, and then you can scroll down to the form I-751 because everything is alphabetic numerical order, or you can just type it in here in the search bar, 751. And for all the other forms, whenever it comes to immigration, all of them are available here on this website. Always get your information directly from official government websites. I cannot stress that enough. So here it is. We're going to click on this, and this is what the form page looks like. Now I will put this link in the description below so it's easier for you to find it, but this is it right here. The very first thing, again, make sure to double check the edition date, make sure it is up to date. Okay, so the two things here, you will see the PDF documents, the form I-751 itself. I'm going to open it in a new tab, and also I'm going to open the instructions. Now I am not going to rely too much on the instructions in this particular video, but as a substitute for your understanding of the application itself, make sure to read through the instructions. I definitely do recommend going through the instructions. It's only 10 pages, so any kind of information that I might miss out in this particular kind of walkthrough, you will definitely find in the instructions. Now the overall idea behind the form itself, the form I-751, is to file it 90 days before the expiration of your conditional residence that you have right now. And whenever it comes to conditional residence, there are some situations where there's step parents involved, but in most cases conditional residence applies to people that are married to a U.S. citizen and the marriage is less than a certain amount of time. I'm pretty sure right now it is actually 2 years. So if you have been married for less than 2 years and your U.S. citizen spouse U.S. citizen spouse filed the I-130 family reunification petition for you, your permanent residence will be conditional permanent residence, and 90 days before the expiration of the conditional residence, you will have to file this I-751 form. I assume that you understand all of this very well. That's why you're watching this video. That's why you're interested in filling this out. So let's go straight into the form itself. Here it is, I-751. There are 11 pages, but most of these pages you don't have to worry about, so don't let that intimidate you. So let's start from the very beginning. We're gonna go, and I'll try to go on a normal pace. If that's too fast, I apologize. If it's too slow, I also apologize. So make sure to type print in black ink. I would recommend filling out this form on the computer just like this. Information about you, the conditional resident, that's going to be conditional resident you. So let's say it is John Doe in our example, who is from Brazil. And John Doe, he married a US citizen, and it was less than 2 years ago, and she filed for him the petition, and he got his conditional permanent residence, and now it's close to being expired. It's within 90 days of expiration, so he is filing the petition in order to remove those conditions so that he has a regular permanent residence. Basically, middle name, he does not have a middle name, so whenever it comes to paper forms, you don't want to make sure that you don't leave any blank spaces, any blank fields. If you don't have something like a middle name, put NA. Don't put none, because I've seen some people putting none into middle name and then they're surprised why their middle name comes up as none. Don't do that. Put N/A, which stands for not applicable. In all of the spaces that are not applicable to you, don't leave anything blank. You are risking that the petition might come back to you, returned with that instructions to fill out the blank spaces. Other name used, if anything. If not, again, not applicable, not applicable. And I know it is tedious, and I'm not going to go through all of this and do it throughout the whole form, but you get the point. Don't leave the blank spaces. USCIS, they don't like the blank spaces in paper application forms. Online applications, that's different, but the forms that you will be sending by mail, the paper forms, no blank spaces. Okay, moving further, so this is other name used, if any. If not, not applicable. Other information, date of birth, obviously, of the conditional resident of you, country of birth, country of citizenship, alien registration number, you should definitely have that. US Social Security number, most likely you should have that already since you are a conditional permanent resident. USCIS online account, if you have it, put it in here. If you don't have it, that's fine. There's nothing to worry about that. Sometimes when you create an online USCIS account, sometimes you do get the email with the account number. Sometimes you don't. I don't know why, probably depending on the service center, where, depending which state you're in. But if you don't have that, don't worry about it. Just put either not applicable or none. In here, none will be fine. Moving further, marital status, single, married, divorced. In our case, in our example, John Doe is married. Date of marriage, place of marriage. If the marriage through which you gained conditional residence has ended, provide the date it ended. Okay, so if that's the case, you put here. If not, then not applicable. In our case, it's not applicable because John Doe is still happily married. But there are some circumstances in which you can actually request the conditions removed, even if your marriage has ended. If it wasn't good faith and everything was good and just didn't work out or something along those lines, if you will experience hardship returning back, you would have some explaining to do, but there is still a way to file this form individually if you are no longer married. Okay, just saying it out there. I'm not gonna go in detail in this video. If you have any questions, you can always post them in the comments below, and I go on this channel, I go over these questions fairly regularly and answer them in a video. So if you have any questions, just post them in the comments. Conditional residence expires on, now this is very important because you have to file within 90 days of the end of the conditional residence. If you file earlier than that, it's going to be rejected, and they actually say it there on the website, on USCIS website. So don't file it earlier than this. So let's say, for example, let's say John Doe's conditional residence expires 01/01/2024. Today is September 21st, so that is, we got October 21st, November 21st, December 21st. See, that is, we are filing a little bit too early right now. If he is expiring on January 1st, 2024, we are filing too early. If it is expiring on December 1st, 2023, then we are almost in October, November, and I think we should be good. Let me get rid of this stuff right here so it doesn't bother coming up. All right, there we go. So we should be good because we are well within those 90 days. So that should definitely be good. Okay, so moving further, we got information still about you, the conditional residence. We got mailing address, that's where you get all your mail. Physical address, that's where you live. Most of the times it's going to be the same, and yes, just fill it out the same. That's completely fine. And as you can see, mailing address, you can actually type up the address. In these fields, on the physical address, you cannot. These are the white fields that you cannot fill out on your computer, which means that you will have to come back to them once you done filling it out on the computer as much as possible, and you print it out, you come back and then you fill this one out by hand. All right, make sure you don't leave anything like this. Make sure that you are, on top of that. So moving further, additional information about you. Are you in removal, deportation, or rescission proceedings? Yes, no. Was a fee paid to anyone other than an attorney in connection with this petition? Yes, no. Again, they kind of want to see if there is, any kind of potential for fictitious marriages or anything like this. You want to make sure that you establish that no, of course not. Have you ever been arrested, detained, charged, indicated, so far so forth? Yes, no. If you do put yes, you will have to provide some explanations. All right, but in this video I'll assume that nothing like this. If you are married in this different marriage than the one thought, which you gain conditional residence status, yes or no? Hopefully no. Have you resided at any other addresses since you became a permanent resident? Again, yes or no. If yes, then you'll have to provide the address. Is your spouse, parent, spouse currently serving with or employed by the U.S. government serving outside the United States? Again, yes or no. The biographic information, pretty straightforward. Ethnicity, race, height, weight, eye color, hair color. So very straightforward. Then we're moving forward to the part 3, which is basis for the petition. In most cases, like I said, you will be just joint filing, pretty straightforward, and in most cases it's going to be my spouse. So you're basically joint filing with your spouse to remove the conditions on your permanent residence. In some situations it's going to be my parent spouse because I'm unable to include it to be included in the joint petition filed by my parent. But like I said, in some situations there are exceptions, waivers that you can file if you're filing individually. All right, you will have to provide some additional information, but if your spouse is deceased, if the marriage was entered in good faith but marriage was terminated through divorce or annulment, you entered the marriage in good faith and during the marriage you were abused, it didn't work out, I was battered or was subject of extreme cruelty by my US citizen, some bad situations happen. My parent entered the marriage in good faith. The termination of my status and removal from the United States would result in extreme hardship. So there are some exceptions. Again, if any of this applies to you, I would say probably you would want to reach out to a legal help and kind of going over with someone who is qualified, not just a random YouTube channel, because it's when we're talking about the serious situation, then you definitely want to make sure that everything is done correctly, not just filling out the form, oh everything is good, filling out the form and sending it. This is different. So keep that in mind, please keep that in mind. Moving further, there's part 4, information about the U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident spouse. If filing as a child separately, information about the U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident step-parents through whom you gained your conditional residence. So here you're indicating the relationship, whether it's spouse or former spouse, or parent spouse or former spouse, and then the name of your spouse, of U.S. citizen spouse, his family name, obviously the last name, the first name, middle name, if any, again, date of birth, social security number, alien registration number. If it's a U.S. citizen, they're probably not going to have the alien registration number, so keep that in mind. Physical address, where they live. Part 5 is the information about your children, if you have any children. For child 1, you have that. For child 2, and again, it's straightforward. Last name, first name, date of birth, alien registration number. Is this child living with you? Is this child applying with you? For child 2, so for 2 children they have, and then the physical address. For child 3, child 4, and child 5, so they have space for 5 children. If you have more children and you need to add more children, then you can definitely do that. I'll show you there is a form. There should be an additional page for additional information in this application. Moving further to part 6 is the accommodations for individuals with disabilities or impairments. If that applies to you, then you can go through these. If you need any special accommodations, you can go through these and you can do some basically explaining. For example, I'm blind or have low vision and request the following accommodation. So you can definitely make your request in these applications. Moving further to part 7, petitioner's statement, contact information, acknowledgement of appointment at USCIS Application Support Center, certification, and signature. So basically here, the petitioner states that, I can read and understand English. If there was an interpreter, you can put the interpreter name here. If you have requested a services of and consented to whoever it is, who is an attorney or accredited representative, then you can put their information here. Petitioner's contact information, phone number, mobile phone number, email address, acknowledgement of appointment at USCIS Application Support Center. I understand that the purpose of USCIS, so this part right here, you are not filling out this part right here. This one is actually you are leaving it for the interview, and I'm gonna do this right here. I'll show you how to easily look up the information in the instructions if you question something. So for example, let's say you're looking at this and you're like, should I sign it here right now and send it, or do I wait for, because that sounds like almost like you have to sign it at the appointment. So what you do is you copy this part right here. Because it's PDF, you can copy, and then we're gonna go to the instructions right here, and you can click Control F. Yeah, so it looks like you do sign it. So there you go. That means you do need to sign it. By signing here, I declare under personal injury that I have reviewed and understand my application, petition, or request. So yes, you do need to sign it on the paper application. You don't need to wait for the appointment. Moving further, we got the same thing for petitioner now. Petitioner statement, certification, petitioner statement, contact information. So both of these are for petitioner, which is petitioner would be you in this situation, and then spouses or individual listed in the part 4. So that's your spouse, U.S. citizen spouse. That's where they will be doing the same thing, certifying and putting the same information, basically saying that they can read and understand English, filling out their contact information, doing their acknowledgement of the appointment, and doing their individual signature and date. Now, like I said, if you did use the interpreter, that's where the interpreter information goes here. Interpreter full name, so last name, first name, business or organization, their mailing address, their contact information, and then they are also doing some certification if you have used the interpreter. And then if you did use the preparer, which again, both of these are services that are offered, whether it is interpreter or a preparer, you're going to be using that right here. And then that's it. That's really it. The very last page right here, page 11, is if you do need additional information, like I was saying, if you do have any kids that you want to add, you can definitely do that, or any kind of information really that is not enough on the application itself. You'll just have to fill it out here by putting your full name here, and then page number, part number, item number, and then the information itself, whatever you want to add. Okay, so as you can see, application is pretty straightforward, I-751. Now I'm gonna show you where to file it and how much it is and what you need to provide with it. Now, the checklist of the required initial evidence can be found right here in this drop down. Very straightforward. There's not a lot of stuff required in most of the cases. If it's just, spouse filing for removal of the conditional residence, all you really need to provide is the copy of front and back of your permanent resident card, and then the evidence of relationship, basically, which is really just a marriage certificate, and that's really it. That's it. Now, if you do have any kind of circumstances and you do need some explaining to do in that situation, yes, you will have to look up and add additional information that is required here, like for example the explanation for the reason why you're filing late, if you're filing late, or explanation for reason you're filing separately, if you're filing separately. But obviously, if that's the case, then you know, if you are questioning, just let me know in the comments below, and I'll try to address it. Now, the filing fee currently, as of today, as of September, keep in mind it always updates, is $595, the application fee, and then there's also an $85 biometric fee for each person applying to remove conditions on their residence. So, for example, if you do have yourself and 2 kids, you will be paying 1 application fee, all right, $595, and then 3 $85 fees for the biometrics appointment, if that makes sense. Pretty straightforward. And then where to file is self-explanatory right here. Direct filing addresses for Form I-751. We're gonna click on this link right here, and there you go. If you live in one of these states, that's where you will be mailing. If you live in one of these states, that's where you will be mailing. If you're mailing using the US Postal Service, USPS, this is where you will be mailing if you live in one of these states. If you're using the FedEx, UPS, DHL, which honestly I would just recommend sticking to USPS. That's how I always filed my forms, and everyone I work with, that's how they file their forms. It's up to you. I know some attorneys sometimes they use the couriers, but I do like the USPS. Just, I don't know, it seems more straightforward. But again, if you are using the courier services, then you have a different address. Make sure to send it to the correct address. And that's really it. It's, as you can see, it is pretty straightforward. If you do have any questions after watching this video, don't hesitate to post them in the comments below. And like I said, I do videos where I go through all these questions and answer them. So I will try my best to address them. So thank you very much for watching. God bless, and I'll see you in the next video.